keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Great job. Let the doors be open, que l'on ouvre les portes. Thank you very much. Statements by members, déclaration de députés. L'honorable député de...
The honourable member for Rosemont-la-Petite-Patrie. Last Saturday at the Maisonnette des Parents, we organized a luncheon to celebrate the citizenship of nearly 200 people living in my riding. It was an opportunity for discussions. It was an opportunity to learn more about each other's journey, why they came to Quebec, learning the language, their children's situation, their jobs, their degrees, or administrative hassles. It's touching to see how much effort these people are putting into learning French, integrating, and getting involved in their new community. We've been holding these meetings for years, but recently new questions have come up. Why do political parties and journalists speak ill of us? Why do some people point the finger at immigrants? They blame us for the housing crisis, and in schools and in hospitals, they discriminate against some of us based on what we wear. Are we really welcome? As parliamentarians, we have a responsibility to highlight their contribution to society and to defend their rights, to build an inclusive society where everyone has their place.
L'honorable député de Hochelaga, Rosemont.
The honourable member for Hochelaga, Rosemont Est. Mr. Speaker, a great lady of the theatre, of the big and small screen, has left us. Béatrice Picard was one of a kind in long ago and even in recent years, and we knew she was 96, but she managed to convince us that she was immortal. She was such a talented actress. All throughout her career, she moved us with her excellent acting. She made all of the roles hers, and she charmed us. She was an elegant and wild woman. She made us smile, sometimes snicker, when she played characters, including Marge Simpson, in such an unforgettable way. Beatrice, we loved you, we admired you, we will never forget you.
The honourable member for Essex.
Mr. Speaker, as the holiday season quickly approaches, I reflect on so many amazing people and organizations in Essex who make Christmas a little easier, special, brighter, and joyous for so many in need. Essex is compassionate. Essex is generous. Essex truly cares. I am extremely thankful to represent a community committed to leaving the world a better place than we found it. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I want to wish a happy anniversary to my amazing wife, Allison. 27 years of laughs and friendship, tears and stories, children and grandchildren. It's unique, to say the least. Thank you, Allison. I love you. Speaker, Jesus is the reason for the season. Merry Christmas, Essex.
The honourable member for Spadina Harbourfront.
Mr. Speaker, last week I joined hundreds of residents from across my riding to celebrate the magic of the holiday season with the lighting of our 33-foot tree in the community square at Harbourfront Centre. Harbourfront Centre and the public spaces around it are vital gathering places. They bring people together and create a sense of belonging in vertical neighbourhoods like mine. Even in a fast-paced city, these traditions remind us that community is still at the heart of who we are in Spadina Harbourfront. The holiday season offers a moment to pause, reflect, and recognize the diversity and resilience of our communities, especially after a year marked by global economic shocks and challenges felt by many. As we look to the new year, let us carry forward a spirit of hope, generosity, and determination. From my family to yours, I wish all Canadians peace, joy, and good health this holiday season. Happy holidays. Thank you.
The honourable member for Vaughan Woodbridge.
Week after week, parents in Vaughan Woodbridge tell me they fear their children will never be able to afford a home. Home ownership is a key milestone in adulthood, a rite of passage for Canadian families. Yet under Liberals, that dream is slipping away. After promising 500,000 new homes, the Liberals now admit their new housing bureaucracy will deliver only a fraction of that. Build Canada Homes will cost $13 billion, yet will only add 5,200 homes per year. This failure is pushing families out of the communities that they love. Last year alone, more than 35,000 families left the GTA because they could not find affordable housing. Wow. And it's no wonder. Government-imposed costs and delays now make up between 30 and 50% of a new home. Conservatives have a real plan. Cut the GST on new homes, help reduce development charges, tie federal infrastructure dollars to building more homes, and get government out of the way so builders can build. We will restore the promise and hope of home ownership for young Canadians.
Here, here. Here. Well done. Député de Bourassa.
The honourable member for Bourassa. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the people of Bourassa for the trust they placed in me in the last federal election. Serving the people of Montreal North and the entire riding is an honour and responsibility I take very seriously. Since joining the House of Commons, I've been fully involved, particularly in issues relating to public safety, quality of life, and community development. I've also worked actively with organizations, businesses, and municipal partners to improve services to families. I'm proud, Mr. Speaker, to have contributed to the efforts to secure funding for the Montreal North Sports Centre, an essential facility for our young people, families, and the whole community. Mr. Speaker, this is just the beginning. I love this parliamentary experience and I'm committed to continuing my work with determination, transparency, and accessibility, always serving the people of Bourassa. As this session comes to a close, I'd like to wish everyone a joyful holiday season filled with peace, unity, and hope. Bourassa can be proud, and we will continue to stand up for you.
For North Island, Powell River.
What constitutes a free society? What are the identifying characteristics that separate nations whose peoples live in freedom from those whose subjects live under tyranny and fear? I can think of no guiding principle more fundamental to this question than the existence or lack thereof of free speech and free expression. The legal ability to express oneself without fear of government coercion, oppression, or use of force, which is why I am so concerned by this Liberal government's Bill C-9, a bill that opens the floodgates and abandons the guardrails on prosecuting and criminalizing speech in Canada, including the reading of sacred and ancient religious texts like the Bible, Torah, and Quran. Make no mistake, once you cross this Rubicon, once you accept the premise that governments, that politicians in this House have the subjective right to determine what you may or may not say or what religious texts you may or may not read, we have lost the plot. Free speech is a Western value, a Canadian principle, and a human right, and we must always defend it.
Here. The honourable member for Pierrefonds-Dollard.
Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker,
A fire destroyed an apartment building in Pierrefonds on the corner of Gouin and Boulevard des Sources, injuring one person and displacing 92 of our neighbors.
my thoughts are with all the residents and families affected.
I want to recognize the courageous response of our firefighters.
Several local restaurants offered free meals to affected families.
The team and I have been collecting a food and clothing drive with local groups. Sun Youth has contacted those impacted and put them in touch with On Rock Community Services.
Thanks to the generosity of constituents, donations have already started to pour in. At this point, more than 50 large bags of essential goods have been collected.
A big thanks to everyone who stepped up and donated. It's beautiful how our community has come together in this moment of crisis. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Chilliwack Hope.
For 40 years, the Chilliwack Alano Club has provided a safe, clean, and sober place to meet 7 days a week for those in recovery from addiction. This consistent availability ensures help and support is always accessible for vulnerable people in need. It's become a vital resource for groups like Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, and Al-Anon. The Chilliwack Alano Club is more than just a building. It's a place for community and fellowship where members and visitors can enjoy a reduced-price breakfast or lunch. Friends and families can gather for coffee or to play board games. Christmas parties, holiday dinners, and weddings are held here too, all in an environment free from drugs and alcohol. Alano is a hub dedicated to healing and recovery, recognizing the importance of social activities for those on their journey to live a clean and sober lifestyle. On behalf of all of those who have been helped by the Chilliwack-Alano Club. Thank you for the difference you are making in people's lives. Congratulations on your 40 years of serving our community.
L'honorable député de la...
The honourable member for Lac-Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, a great lady has left us. The doyenne of our actresses, Béatrice Picard, passed away yesterday at the venerable age of 96, and yet we all felt she left us too soon. Béatrice Picard graced the stages of Quebec theatres for more than 60 years. She played iconic roles in more than 40 plays at the Duceppe, the theatre with which she will forever be associated. Think of La mort d'un commis voyageur, or The Death of a Salesman, or Harold and Maude, which she performed just recently. She lit up our big and small screens alike and won over audiences with memorable roles. From Le Survenant to Un gars, une fille, from Saint-Florien to The Simpsons, Béatrice Picard was also, above all, the beauty of aging. As spokesperson for Les Petits Frères and Salon des Aînés de Saint-Jérôme, Béatrice Picard was committed to serving her fellow Quebecers, giving her time and energy. Yes, a great lady has left us. On behalf of the Bloc, on behalf of Quebecers, and more personally on behalf of the Duceppe family, I offer our deepest condolences to her loved ones and family. Thank you for everything, Béatrice.
The honourable member for Kings Hants.
Speaker, the Hants County Christmas Angels is a long-standing tradition in Kings Hants dating back to 1977 that is truly the definition of community and Christmas spirit. Every year, this volunteer organization seeks to raise funds to support local families in need. This year was exceptional. Over the course of a day filled with local musicians and local performances, $93,108 was raised for families in need right in Hants County. I would like to congratulate the Honorary Chair, Lisa Bland, and 2025 Coordinator Leanne Perry, and the entire Volunteer Board of Directors for their contribution to this significant effort. To everyone who contributed and supported this wonderful holiday tradition, thank you for making Hants County and our communities across Kings Hants an even greater place to call home, especially this time around the Christmas season. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to take this opportunity to wish a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays to everyone back home in Kings Hants. Thank you very much.
The honourable member for Calgary Nose Hill.
After a decade of Liberal obfuscation and obstruction, Albertans have had enough. We need a pipeline to the Pacific. But yesterday, the Liberal member for Calgary Confederation voted against a motion that would have reassured his constituents that hope was possible, and they're applauding him for doing that. It reminded me of the time a few years ago when another Liberal MP from Calgary told Albertans that he would bang on the table for pipelines. He then betrayed his constituents by supporting the Liberal tanker ban and the Liberal No More Pipelines bill. It seems like history is repeating itself. But that Liberal member went on to lose his seat in the next election, while Albertans went through unnecessary hardships and lost jobs because of Liberal anti-energy ideology. Alberta has the right to develop its natural resources, and voting in favour of yesterday's motion would have been a step in the right direction. It would have reassured the province that the government could do something better. But the member did something opposite. He should do better. What a shame.
The honourable member for Winnipeg West.
I rise today to acknowledge the vital role of Deer Lodge Centre plays in our community and to recognize the ongoing support of the Deer Lodge Centre Foundation. As the third largest healthcare facility in Manitoba, Deer Lodge has long been a trusted place of care for families, offering rehabilitation, chronic care, dementia care, mental health, and bariatric services. Its roots stretch back to 1916, when it first opened to support returning World War I soldiers, and that deep commitment to serving veterans continues to guide its mission today. Deer Lodge remains a place where both aging veterans and younger service members receive specialized, compassionate care. The Foundation strengthens its connection by raising funds that enhance comfort, expand programs, and foster innovative care. I'm grateful to the staff, volunteers, families, and donors whose dedication ensures Deer Lodge remains a compassionate, community-centered place of healing and dignity. Thank you.
The honourable member for Lanard Frontenac.
In this week before Christmas, one might wonder why write a poem at all and not just use AI. AI knows meter and rhyme and all their uses can make Clement Moore's verse sound like Dr. Seuss's. AI seems to do everything better than you can. Flies drones and drives safer than a real human. Its advantage in word search is very well sealed. It found me 29 words that rhyme with Brookfield. But there are things too bizarre for AI to know, like what draws Katy Perry to Justin Trudeau. You can ask, but AI can't give you directions why Jagmeet Singh lasted through 3 elections. And AI can't explain to me or to you why the Grits won't vote to support their own MOU. Some places there are where AI just can't budget. It's going to take humans to balance the budget, which is why this poem was still written by me, but the partisan bits are from ChatGPT.
The honourable member for Winnipeg South Centre.
Mr. Speaker, Friday will mark 3 years since the passing of my father, the Honourable Jim Carr. My dad loved Canada, its people, its culture, its kindness and tenacity, and all that it gave him. He taught me from a young age that those with whom we disagree are merely our opposition, not our enemies. He conducted himself with integrity, honesty, and compassion. Seldom a week goes by without someone coming up to me to share a fond memory with him, and each encounter ends with some variation of the same. He was a good man, they say. Whenever the time may come that I look back at my own parliamentary career, I hope I will be able to genuinely say that I have lived up to the standard that he has set for us all. In the Jewish faith, upon one's passing, we have an expression of condolence that we offer. May their memory be a blessing. Mr. Speaker, on that account, I can say with all my heart that with him in my mind, I stand eternally blessed. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Battle River Crowfoot, the honourable leader of the opposition.
On what should have been the proudest moment of her life, Maria Corina Machado was not even there. Unable to attend the ceremony after months of hiding and fighting the regime in Venezuela, her daughter accepted the Nobel Peace Prize on her behalf. Quoting her mother, "Our journey towards freedom has always lived inside us. We are returning to ourselves. We are returning home." For years, Venezuela's Iron Lady has boldly opposed the socialist Maduro dictatorship and the economic collapse it has engendered and inflicted on the once proud and free nation. At great personal cost for herself, Machado has inspired millions, both in her country and around the world. The Nobel Prize awarded her for tireless work promoting democratic rights for the Venezuelan people is therefore a victory not only for herself, but for all of those who've suffered under decades of socialism. May we all be inspired by her courage and determination to stand up for freedom over socialism and for the people all around the world. Thank you.
The honourable member for Dartmouth Cole Harbour.
'Twas 2 weeks before Christmas. I still can't hold back the smile. Even we didn't believe that we'd be back on this side of the aisle. Canada needed someone smart, a proven young steed. That ruled out a guy who blew a 22-point lead. The Conservatives were lost with the carbon tax dead, while visions of Trudeau on a yacht danced in their leader's head. The Bloc dreamed of king-making, of holding great sway. But His Majesty's loyal opposition? Oh mon Dieu, not even for a day. The NDP, well, they were reduced to 7. My gosh, even Nova Scotia now has 11. Now, for a new government, we sure have a lot of gray hairs. But we won 4 in a row, so who cares? A trade war with friends, what's ahead is a fight. Christmas came early, Canadians chose right. There'll be no Christmas election, of that I'm now certain, thanks to 2 Conservatives hiding behind that curtain. Now, I've thrown lots of jabs, but I promise they're in jest. To each and every one of you, I truly wish you all the best. I hope you all could hear me with my voice raised up. All we hear in this place these days are heckles. I hope the speaker doesn't wake up. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
questions. Questions orales.
Mr. Speaker, who suggested to the Liberals that they should open up our borders to out-of-control immigration that increased the cost of housing, took away jobs for Canadians, and put so much pressure on the healthcare system while causing the decline of French? Well, it was Mark Wiseman, ultra-liberal, the head of Mouvement Siècle, who suggested that the population of Canada should be tripled. Why is it, Mr. Speaker, that every time someone brings into place politics that are against our interests, the governments appoint them? First off, because it's tangentially connected, we want to wish the best to our ambassador, Kristen Hellman. Mr. Speaker, she has been of incredible service to our country, and she continues to guide us well and offer good counsel. Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition is mentioning a policy that has never been and will never be the government's policy.
The Leader of the Opposition.
But the person who suggested this very radical policy, liberal policy, is Mark Wiseman. He said the population of Canada should be tripled to 100 million. And I quote, even if it causes Quebec to howl. This is someone who has shown contempt for Quebec and cannot negotiate for Quebec. He suggested policies that would increase the cost of living, took away jobs, and increases the cost of our healthcare system. Why would he want to appoint this person as an ambassador? The Honourable Minister. You'll allow me, Mr. Speaker, to also commend and thank Madam Hillman for her service to Canada. I've had the opportunity to work closely with Kirsten over the last few months. I truly appreciate her friendship and her work for Canada. I understand the Leader of the Opposition is trying to extrapolate a number of faulty elements of certain aspects that he's mentioned have never been and will never be the government's policy. I understand he's trying to get a clip on tonight's news, but this won't be the one.
Opposition. Canadians have wanted to know who came up with the idea of radical open doors, liberal immigration that overwhelmed our healthcare, housing, and job market. Well, it turns out it was Mark Wiseman, the Prime Minister's corporate crony, longtime Liberal elite, and head of the Century Initiative, whose stated mission is to triple the population of Canada to 100 million people, a policy that is designed to profit multinational corporations by driving wages down and housing costs up. Why is it that every time somebody comes along with an idea that harms Canadians and drives up their cost of living, the Prime Minister gives them a promotion?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I wish to reiterate my thanks to our outgoing ambassador to the United States of America, Kirsten Hillman, who has furnished incredible, loyal, and very insightful services to the people and to the government of Canada. Mr. Speaker, I think our country owes her a debt of gratitude. And once again, the policy that the member across refers to has never been and will never be the policy of the government of Canada.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, every time a Liberal insider does damage to Canadians, drives up their cost of living, they get a reward. It's not just with Mr. Wiseman, it's the Prime Minister himself. His policies are driving up grocery prices for the year to come. And what did he do as punishment for himself? Gave himself an $800,000 privately chartered flight to Egypt, where there were meetings happening in which he had absolutely no role other than a photo op. Why is it that Canadians need to line up at food banks so that he can go jetting around the world for photo ops?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I know in the spirit of the holiday season, the Leader of the Opposition is not surely not suggesting that the Prime Minister not attend as auspicious an event as the ceremony with respect to peace in the Middle East and Gaza, and joining scores, multitudes of other world leaders at that occasion and representing and making Canadians proud for his attendance at that event.
The opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister was conspicuously irrelevant at that meeting where he had played no role whatsoever in the agreement, and yet he charged Canadians $800,000 for a privately chartered jet. Apparently, his own prime ministerial jet was not good enough for him. He does this while he imposes an industrial carbon tax on farm equipment, on fertilizer, on food processors that has driven 2.2 million Canadians to a food bank. Why is the Prime Minister being the Grinch of the grocery store, charging taxpayers for flights when Canadians can't eat?
The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister's work on the world.
I can't hear. Also, I just would like to mention to the Honourable Member for Oakville West that I could hear her all the way here. So if we could keep it a little lower. We will now go to the Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister's work on the world stage with his counterparts to bring an end to the conflict in the Middle East is extremely important. He is continuing to be engaged on the peace plan in the Middle East. The plan, in fact, reflects Canada's long-standing positions that Hamas should have no role in the governance of Palestine, and the ceasefire provides an opportunity for the Prime Minister and other world leaders to continue to work on humanitarian aid for the benefit of all.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister's refusal, even though he's in Ottawa, to answer my questions directly is not keeping with the Christmas spirit. And he's going to. This is at a time when he's driven up the cost of living so much that 2.2 million Canadians are lined up at food banks, that food prices are going to drive an extra $1,000 onto the grocery bills of Canadians next year after he imposed higher taxes on farm equipment, fertilizer, food packaging, and more. Will the Prime Minister, instead of being the Grinch of the grocery store, reverse these taxes so that Canadians can have an affordable, delicious Christmas?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Mr. Speaker, while the member opposite talks about imaginary taxes, Canadians know exactly what's going on, and it's related to climate change, Mr. Speaker. Our thoughts are with the cattle farmers in the western provinces this year, Mr. Speaker, who have faced unimaginable loss of crop and loss of cattle as a result of drought, Mr. Speaker. That's driving up the price of beef, something that we can't actually control right now. But you know what we can, Mr. Speaker? We can make sure that Canadians have extra money in their pocket. That's what Canadians are counting on, that will be for them in these tough times.
The Honourable Member for Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister is considering appointing Mark Meisman as Ambassador to Washington. He is a co-founder of the Century Initiative, a policy that aims to increase the population to 100 million people and beyond Quebec's capacity to cope. I quote, 100 million Canadians by 2100 should be the federal government's policy, even if it makes Quebec howl. He used the term howl in English, which literally means the cry of a dog. Does the Prime Minister really think he can represent Quebecers abroad? The Honourable Government House Leader, as it's been said on numerous occasions in this House, Mr. Speaker, that policy that my colleague is referring to was never a Government of Canada policy and never will be. The Honourable Member for Saint-Jean. Well, Mr. Speaker, you know, wise men say that only fools rush in. The Prime Minister already made an appointment last week that turned the entire province of Quebec against him. Let's hope that he won't make the same mistake twice. When Mark Meisman talks about imposing immigration policies on Quebecers, even if it makes them howls, he demonstrates not only his contempt for Quebec, but also his contempt for democracy. There are 44 Quebecers among the Liberals. Is there at least one who will stand up and tell his leader to appoint someone else? The Honourable Minister for Government Transformation. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The policy she is referring to for the 6th time in the House today, I want to reiterate, is not a Government of Canada policy, never will be. But if she does want to discuss culture, Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased with our Minister of Culture and our investment, $4.1 billion on culture, official languages. We asked the Bloc Québécois for something for the preparation of our budget. They didn't come up with anything for the cultural sector. Thank you very much. The Honourable Member for Berthier-Masquinongé. Mr. Speaker, the Liberal drift towards authoritarianism continues after Bill C-5, which gives the federal government the power to bypass all legislation for its major projects, such as pipelines. Now we have Bill C-15. The Liberals are enshrining in law the right for all their ministers to break any law under the pretext of innovation. That's not all. Bill S-4, introduced by Liberal senators, also means laws can be circumvented. If the Liberals can decide everything without respecting the law or consulting anyone, can we still call this a democracy? The Honourable Government House Leader. Certainly, we can call it a democracy, Mr. Speaker. We are discussing these matters publicly, so I think that is the definition of a democratic debate. With respect to Bill C-15, it contains tools that are very important to advance our economy, to advance innovation in Canada, and to make sure that we can achieve great things together for Quebec to achieve its ambitions, for Canada to achieve its economic ambitions and other ambitions as well, Mr. Speaker. We are pleased to continue to debate these matters with the member and the House as a whole.
Pell.
Has a problem. A pipeline to the Pacific is very popular with Canadians. Canadians want to stop the practice of selling Canadian oil at a massive discount to the United States when billions of customers lie just on the other side of the Pacific Ocean. But the Prime Minister has never believed in selling more Canadian energy. He wrote an entire book about leaving Canada's natural resources in the ground, and he cheered on the decision to cancel the Northern Gateway pipeline, and his caucus doesn't support one either. So isn't the real reason why he voted against his own MOU yesterday is he has no intention of actually getting a pipeline built? He just needs to pretend long enough until the next election.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Natural Resources.
Well, Mr. Speaker, we support a pipeline. We support the whole MOU, which is a careful balancing of the economy, the environment, and it gets us away from the United States as a primary trading partner. And that's great news. It also is an MOU that balances the interests of Indigenous peoples and other jurisdictions. We do not support, and we are happy to vote against, games played by the opposition that make a pipeline less likely. That the Leader of the Opposition would do this is ridiculous. It lets Alberta down, but I shouldn't be surprised. Being elected in Battle River does not an Albertan make.
The honourable member for Regina Capel.
Voting against the Prime Minister's own MOU does not a pipeline build, Mr. Speaker. MOU through his own caucus should have been the easy part of the process. This self-declared master negotiator couldn't even do that. Instead, his MOU piles on new conditions and red tape, ties approvals to other projects, hikes the industrial carbon tax, and hands unconstitutional vetoes to other levels of government. It's clear he couldn't even get it through his own caucus. If the Prime Minister couldn't do that, why should Canadians believe he can get a pipeline through all his new hoops and hurdles?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Seniors.
Rachel Notley's new Democrat government, when in partnership with the federal Liberals, we got the first pipeline to Tidewater built in generations. A pipeline that helps pay for schools, hospitals, environmental investments, and supports good union jobs. Now, as a Vancouver Island MP, I support our Prime Minister's vision to build Canada strong with Indigenous peoples, the provinces, and the environment. The Conservatives want to ram things through, never mind Indigenous peoples, never mind the environment. Our thoughtful approach ensures that no Canadian is left behind.
The honourable member for Thornhill.
Yesterday we found out that the Prime Minister spent almost $800,000
$100,000 on a one-day taxpayer escape to Egypt to take a photo and not sign an agreement. Struggling Canadians are lining up at food banks, skipping meals, while the Prime Minister takes their money and skips town. We know that this is second nature for the Prime Minister to live large on other people's dime, but can he at least stand up today and explain to hungry Canadians why he treats their tax dollars like his personal travel fund?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, once again, I know the Honourable Deputy Leader of the Conservative Party is not suggesting that the Prime Minister of Canada should not have joined with dozens of his international counterparts for as auspicious an event as the commemoration of a ceasefire in the Middle East, an issue upon which, I might add, she has had a lot to say over the last little while. The Prime Minister of Canada represents Canadians proudly, and Canadians are proud when our Prime Minister attends these events and does incredible business with his counterparts from all around the world.
The Honourable Member for Thornton Hill.
I will tell that member that that agreement was signed despite the Prime Minister, not because of him. And I'd like to remind the Prime Minister also that in the Toronto food banks got over 4 million visits last year, and they're going to get even more when the price of groceries rises $1,000 per family next year. Will the government kill the industrial carbon tax, the packaging tax, the new fuel tax, so Canadians can afford food, or will he hop on another plane and avoid answering questions in this place altogether?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
The opposition wants to talk about nonsense taxes that don't exist on food, instead of supporting the very things that Canadians have told us time and again they want. They want a Canada Child benefit that's indexed to inflation. They want seniors benefits that are indexed to inflation. They want to make sure, in fact, I think almost all mothers want to make sure that children get healthy food in schools, but not these Conservatives, Mr. Speaker. They want to stand in the way of the very things that Canadians know help them at this time.
Honourable Member for Haldimand, Norfolk.
The Prime Minister promised to bring down the price of groceries. A family where I live in Haldimand, Norfolk, reached out to me in desperation. Despite a decent income, they said that they can barely afford groceries for their family and their household. When the Liberals took office in 2015, the average weekly grocery bill was $159. A decade later, it has more than doubled to over $338. Wow. So when will this Prime Minister cut the hidden food taxes so that Canadians can afford to feed their families?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Children and Youth.
I got it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Once again, members opposite are focused on imaginary taxes. On this side of the House, we are continuing to invest in Canadians and the supports that they need, including the Canada Child benefit, which is pegged to inflation and worth up to $8,000 per child under 6 years old. In this country. So on this side of the House, we will continue to invest in Canadians and the supports that they need, and we would encourage the members opposite to show a little more support for those programs as well. Thank you.
Honourable Member for Haldimand, Norfolk.
Mr. Speaker, there's nothing imaginary about the hunger pains that many Canadians are feeling. Many families are also financially squeezed with a mortgage payment and utility bills, which are rising faster than they can keep up with. These pressures have worsened under the Liberals with the rise in the industrial carbon tax, the packaging tax, and the new fuel tax. All of these hidden taxes are driving up the cost of food. When will the Liberals stop their inflationary spending and cut these hidden food taxes so that Canadians can afford to eat?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Children and Youth.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is clear that we don't want any family to have a hard time feeding themselves, and that's why, in fact, we invest in programs and supports for families precisely so that they can put food on the table and also have school food through the school food program. At the same time, we are creating jobs. This is what Canadians really need, and this is something we're noticing over the last 3 months has been an increase in the number of jobs.
Member for Brandon Souris.
Food bank usage is at an all-time high this holiday season in Manitoba and across the country. Harvest Manitoba's latest report shows that 60,000 Manitobans are relying on food banks every month, and almost 50% of them are families with young children. This is what a decade of food packaging taxes, fuel standards, and a rising industrial carbon tax have done to Canadians. So, Mr. Speaker, my question to the Prime Minister is simple. When will his Liberals finally stop their inflationary spending and cut hidden food taxes so that Canadians can afford to eat this Christmas?
The Honourable Minister for Northern and Arctic Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, the member opposite is from Manitoba, and if he's listening to Manitobans, he would hear that Manitobans are happy with what our government is doing. We're seeing $10 a day daycare for Northern Arctic communities. We're also seeing the National Food Program. We're seeing investments in housing and infrastructure like never before. We're seeing the child tax benefits supported with increases, GST housing credits, and enhanced benefits for families so that they can heat their homes. Member opposite needs to get on board.
The Honourable Member for Pierre Boucher, Les Patriotes Verchères. Mr. Speaker, when Quebecers and our truckers asked the Liberals to put an end to discount drivers, they ignored us. As a result, it's now the Americans who are asking the federal government to get a move on. I quote the embassy, simply targeting companies allows individuals who commit violations to create a new company under a new name. Mr. Speaker, there are 10 steps to take. The most obvious is to prevent temporary immigrants from entering the trucking industry. It's a step. That is the minimum. When will the Liberals take action? The Honourable Minister of Transport. Mr. Speaker, my honourable friend should speak to the Association des Camionneurs du Québec, who welcome the work of the government, the work of my colleague, the Minister for Labour, myself, and the Minister of Finance. We've instituted a number of measures specifically to put an end to this relic of the Harper days, where there were these discount drivers on the roads, and it was made possible. Now, Mr. Speaker, we've taken a number of steps to eliminate this. We are working in cooperation with the provinces, and the member should also welcome these efforts. The Honourable Member for Pierre Boucher, Les Patriotes Verchères. Mr. Speaker, the Association des Camionneurs du Québec support our 10 measures. How many have the Liberals brought in? 1. The Liberals are doing nothing because they are infiltrated top to bottom by these discount drivers. The Prime Minister had, as an organizer and donor in his campaign, the spokesperson for a new association defending these low-cost drivers. Not 1, not 2, but 10 Liberal members showed up at that convention, establishing that organization in 2023. They received donations from the promoters of discount drivers. Now the Liberals have to make a choice. Are they going to protect people on the road, or are they going to continue to protect these discount drivers? The Honourable Minister of Transport. Mr. Speaker, this government has implemented far more than a single measure, Mr. Speaker. We scrapped the T4A moratorium. We have the sharing of information between the agency and the Labour Department. We made sure that inspections of the Labour work was happening. The Labour Department was on, that there were blitzes. Now we're asking the provinces. We're hoping that they will focus on the certifications, issuance of driver's license, and the rest. That is the work of provinces. That the Bloc member want us to take over Quebec areas of jurisdiction? I don't think so. The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent at Cowenrac. Mr. Speaker, in Canadian diplomacy, there is no position more important than that of Canadian ambassador to the United States. That person who holds that position must be very tightly connected with the Prime Minister. Now we hear Mr. Mike Wiseman might be appointed by the Prime Minister. This individual supports the initiative of the century, namely a population of 100 million by 2100. And he did even worse. He said, even if it makes Quebec howl. Mr. Speaker, why would the government appoint someone who insults Quebecers? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, with all the appreciation I have for my colleague across the way, the simple fact that he is repeating the very same question his leader asked, just to have a clip on tonight's news, perhaps at 6 p.m. show or maybe with Madame Galipo's show. He knows full well, Mr. Speaker, that public policy, those that he's referring to, have never been the Liberal government's public policies. They will never be. I understand he's trying to make something out of this, but it won't work. The Honourable Member for Louis Saint-Laurent à Kyawenrak. What isn't working is that the architect of this very initiative will be appointed ambassador to the U.S. Even worse, the minister knows full well that this very Mr. Wiseman is an opponent of supply management. So we're not inventing anything by saying that. That's the truth. Imagine the prime...
Supply management, like me. Qu'est-ce que le ministre...
What will the minister say to explain the appointment of a man who insults Quebecers and then is against supply management? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, once again, our colleague from Quebec is giving me here an opportunity to inform him of the fact that as recently as last night, I was at an activity held by the Chambers of Commerce of Quebec. I had an opportunity myself to speak with the Vice President of the Dairy Producers of Quebec, and of course we discussed supply management. I was able to reassure my friend in Montreal last night that the government will always defend supply management. We will not be negotiating supply management with the Americans. The Prime Minister was quite clear, and I'm pleased to repeat this here in the House again before you.
The Honourable Member for Brantford, Brant South, Six Nations.
Last night at the Justice Committee, Conservatives moved to immediately prioritize Bill C-14 and scrap dangerous Liberal bail laws. And what did the Liberals do? Shamefully, they blocked us. Not once, not twice, 3 times. And now we just learned that they canceled today's 8-hour meeting. Instead of stopping criminals, these Liberals are more concerned with prosecuting religious expression. Why don't the Liberals just get out of the way and let Conservatives finally fix the broken bail system? Get out of the way.
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, methinks the member doth protest too much. We have watched he and his colleagues filibuster the work of the Justice Committee for many weeks on end. Mr. Speaker, he says that he's not responsible for it, but it's actually all on video. For hours, they go on and on discussing their preference for puppies or kittens when they, in fact, could be debating laws that are designed to keep Canadians safe. It's essential that we move forward with an aggressive campaign to improve public safety that we campaigned on to fight hate in this country, to improve bail systems in this country, and to ensure every community is safe.
The Honourable Member for Brantford, Brant South, Six Nations. The member may go ahead.
The Liberals had multiple opportunities to crack down on violent repeat offenders. Instead, they chose religious censorship over public safety. Liberal members from Burnaby Central, Dorval, Lachine, LaSalle, Mount Royal, and even the Parliamentary Secretary, the Minister of Justice, must answer to Canadians for why they keep obstructing the study of Bill C-14. They were given the chance to protect Canadians. They chose not to. How many more murders, sex assaults, and violent extortions are enough for this tired Liberal government to finally protect Canadians?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, the speed with which this member will cite these kind of tragic crimes as a political prop is simply beneath this.
I don't know what to say to that. I mean, obviously, it's quite clear that I'll allow the minister to start from the top.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives are now even finding a way to filibuster question period. In all honesty, Mr. Speaker, the readiness with which the Conservatives come to this conversation where they will cite heinous crimes to make a political point, but then stall the proceedings to actually advance the laws that police chiefs are asking for, that victims are asking for, that law enforcement from their own communities are deliberately asking them to get on with. What's getting in the way?
There's a problem when yours truly can't hear because there's too much noise, and then I have to stop it because I need to hear what people are saying. So if the Honourable Minister would like to conclude his comments.
Mr. Speaker, the excuse they are using now to prevent addressing bail and sentencing is that they won't support measures that are designed to combat hate crimes in this country. We can fight hate. We can keep communities safe. The Conservatives should get out of the way.
The Honourable Member for Elgin, St. Thomas, London South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yesterday, Conservatives on the Justice Committee tried 3 times to let the committee prioritize the study of much-needed bail reforms on which it would be possible for us to have consensus. But what was so pressing the Liberals didn't want to study their own bail bill. They launched a full-scale assault on religious freedom in this country that risks prosecution of those who express religious beliefs. And now the minister says after passing the amendment, he'll start his consultations. This is the minister that said he would rather spend time with his family. Could he do that instead of censoring Canadians?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Well, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, because that member wrote the biography of the member for Battle River Crowfoot, he knows very well the tricks of the trade when it comes to obstructing legislation. But here's the problem that Conservatives have. We have systematically tabled legislation in this House to battle child pornography, extortion, intimate partner violence, to do bail reform. We have put border measures, we have put immigration crackdowns all in front of this House. What do the Conservatives do? Filibuster, jam, just like the book says.
The Honourable Member for Pickering, Brooklyn.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians expect jail time for the most serious crimes, especially those involving children.
The Honourable Member for Pickering, Brooklyn.
Canadians expect jail time for most serious crimes, especially those involving children.
Remember your Nova Scotia thing yesterday? Pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean, you know, yeah. We don't want strike 3 here, okay? So, because then I could always upset the order. I could always upset the order of questioning. The Honourable Member for Pickering, Brooklyn.
And they also expect laws that will withstand court scrutiny and respect the Charter. Can the Minister of Justice inform this House about what the government is doing to preserve strong mandatory minimum penalties for imprisonment while ensuring they remain constitutional and enforceable, please?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Speaker, I want to thank my honourable colleague for her question and her support in advancing the Protecting Victims Act, which treats more seriously femicide in this country, which criminalizes coercive control, and which includes new higher maximum penalties for a range of sexual offenses. In addition, Mr. Speaker, this bill restores mandatory minimum penalties for a range of sexual crimes and trafficking-related crimes that were struck down because they were not constitutionally compliant. We are moving forward with a path that is going to ensure people who commit heinous sexual crimes, including against our kids, spend time behind bars. If only the Conservatives would get out of the way and let this House adopt the law.
The Honourable Member for Mission Matsqui Abbotsford.
Mr. Speaker, nearly 1 in 4 British Columbians are food insecure, and food bank usage is soaring. The Prime Minister told Canadians to judge him by grocery prices. Well, the verdict is in. Under this Liberal government, food banks are not just for emergencies anymore. They are now an entrenched lifeline of support. When will these Liberals stop their inflationary spending and cut the hidden taxes on food so Canadians can afford to eat?
The Honourable Minister of Veterans Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, opposition MPs are too comfortable with fiction and fantasies. British Columbians demand facts and the respect that they can tell the difference. Here are the facts. Mr. Speaker, we're delivering a middle-class tax cut to put savings in the pockets of 22 million Canadians. Bravo. We've made the National School Food Program permanent to save families up to $800 a year, and we're investing in 175,000 youth and student employment opportunities. British Columbians deserve the facts, Mr. Speaker, and the fact is we're delivering for Canadians.
The Honourable Member for Mission Matskey Abbotsford.
Speaker, that member should be ashamed outlining fiction and fantasy in respect to the challenges of British Columbians to feed their families. The 2026 food price report says grocery prices will keep climbing $1,000 more next year, forcing families to compromise on healthy food and to rely more on food banks. Farmers in my riding, the breadbasket of British Columbia, tell me they're drowning in costs. Fertilizer, fuel, and transportation have all skyrocketed. Nationally, producers are taking on more debt than any time since 1981. Instead of raising taxes to grow, ship, and sell our food, when will this government face reality and lower food prices?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Seniors.
Mr. Speaker, as Christmas approaches, I'm reminded that there are 143 Conservatives over there who might as well be named Scrooge. British Columbians on my riding of Esquimalt-Saanich-Sooke know that Scrooge from Battle River Crowfoot doesn't want to feed hungry children in schools, that Scrooge from Thornhill doesn't want money going to seniors through old age security, that Scrooge from Haldimand Norfolk doesn't want parents to get a check for childcare benefits. I sure hope that the Conservatives get a visit from the ghosts of Christmas present, past, and future so that they embrace the Canadian spirit of compassion.
Come and show that compassion! The Honourable Member for Hamilton East, Stony Creek.
While Canadians can't afford to put food on the table, this Liberal Prime Minister spent nearly $800,000 taxpayer dollars chartering a flight to Egypt. While he was jet-setting, the reality here at home is that grocery prices have skyrocketed, and the food price report 2020 shows, quote, it's expected to get even worse. The report confirms that in 2026, Canadians will pay an extra $1,000 per year on groceries. When will these Liberals stop their reckless spending so Canadians can afford to feed themselves?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Labour.
Mr. Speaker, our government is focused on creating opportunities. And let me tell that member, jobs are up in this country, Mr. Speaker. Wages are up. Growth is up. But we're not stopping there, Mr. Speaker. We're creating opportunities for Hamilton. We're building big, Mr. Speaker, with the largest infrastructure investment in Canadian history, which that member voted against. We're going to be building major projects in the national interest, community centres, hospitals, healthcare, Mr. Speaker. When are the Conservatives going to get on board, Mr. Speaker? We're doing the hard work on this side. They aren't.
The Honourable Member for Hamilton East, Stony Creek.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to remind the member from Hamilton over there that instead of chirping us and heckling us, he should go visit a food bank in Hamilton. The Stony Creek Food Bank is serving 60 people per day. That's up 400% in the last 2 years. Last week, youth visits were up double compared to this time last year. It's no wonder food is so expensive. Industrial carbon tax, packaging tax, and the new fuel tax all raise food prices. Again, I will ask, will the Liberals cut their hidden taxes on food so that the
Secretary of State for Labour.
Mr. Speaker, record in this House speaks volumes, Mr. Speaker. That party has voted against every affordability measure this side of the House has brought forward. They voted against dental care, which is helping Canadians get to the dentist. Mr. Speaker, the Canada Child Benefit, which gives checks to parents to help their kids with food and clothing. Mr. Speaker, Build Canada Homes, which is going to reduce the price of housing in this country, Mr. Speaker. Automatic tax filing. That party's voted against every measure to help Canadians that come in here. They say they support affordability, but they don't.
Honourable member for Airdrie Cochrane.
Mr. Speaker, Heather from Airdrie is a senior who has worked in Canada since she was 13 years old. And she and her husband paid their dues, but now after a lifetime of contributing, they are, and I quote, next to having to use the food bank just to get by. It's unacceptable that after 10 long years of this Liberal government, seniors who built this country can't even afford groceries.
Yep.
When will this Prime Minister axe his inflationary spending, his industrial carbon tax, his fuel tax, and his food packaging tax so Canadians can afford to eat?
That's right.
The Honourable Minister for Emergency Management and Community Resilience.
Mr. Speaker, the industrial carbon tax has next to zero impact on the cost of food. School food programs, on the other hand, lower food costs for many families. But the Conservatives voted against it, just like they voted against childcare, dental care, and affordable housing. Day after day, we hear the Conservatives talk about making life more affordable for Canadians. So why do they keep voting against the things that would do exactly that?
The Honourable Member for Airdrie Cochrane.
Well, there's a lot of people struggling in this country who would beg to differ. I'll talk to you about Justin, a middle-class dad from Airdrie, who says the cost of living crisis is eroding middle-class stability, with families being squeezed by soaring housing, grocery, utility, and fuel prices. And that's all because the Liberal industrial carbon tax, the fuel tax, the food packaging tax have increased the cost to grow, to ship, and to sell everything that Canadians need. So why won't this Prime Minister finally axe his inflationary spending and end his punishing taxes so that Canadians can afford a decent life once again?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Natural Resources.
Well, Mr. Speaker, Albertans are steady people, sensible people, and they know imaginary taxes are imaginary. They know there's no packaging tax, and they know that wages are growing in this country, and while there is much, much work to do, we are managing a very difficult storm very well, and we welcome the members opposite to help us with that storm instead of whatever this has been today, because this has been wild. But, Mr. Speaker, there is much work to do in this country, and we want them to help.
The Honourable Member for Lévis-Lotbinière. Mr. Speaker, at a time when Canadians are having trouble affording food, this Prime Minister spent $736,000 of taxpayer money to go to Egypt. A trip booked at the last minute, which tripled the price. Mr. Speaker, this Prime Minister's carelessness is done at the taxpayer's expense. At a time when next year Canadians will pay $1,000 more to put food on their plates. Will the Liberals end their inflationary spending and get rid of the hidden taxes on food so that Canadians can finally afford to eat? The Honourable Secretary of State. What we're doing is restoring Canadians' purchasing power, putting it in their Christmas stockings. We have put in place a series of measures which will make daily costs easier. $10 a day childcare, the Canada Child Benefit. There's a whole bunch of measures we are putting in place. We are also working hard to improve the economy so that there are good jobs across the country, including in my colleagues' riding. Merry Christmas to everyone. The Honourable Member for Lévis-Lotbinière. Mr. Speaker, out in the real world, food costs have exploded. This week, I heard from Ms. Ouellette that she is spending more on groceries than on her mortgage. Ms. Vallée told me that she has given up meat in order to keep within her budget. And Mr. Hardy said that people are eating chips and soda pop for dinner so that they can make rent. Mr. Speaker, when will the Prime Minister come down off his ivory tower and finally acknowledge what Canadian families are going through? The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I can see that the Conservatives are making up imaginary taxes quicker than they're making up question period questions because they ask the same thing every day. You know what's not imaginary? The Canada Child Benefit, which has reduced child poverty by 40%. The dental benefit, which 1.5 million Quebecers have signed up to. The National School Food Program, which has fed 100,000 of the most vulnerable Quebecers. Jobs are on the rise. That makes opportunity for all Canadians and all Quebecers from all over the country. The Honourable Member for Côte-du-Sud, Rivière-du-Loup, Kataskamik-Témiscouata. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister said that he could be judged by the cost of groceries. Well, now Canadians are judging him. Groceries are twice as expensive as they were 10 years ago, and the most recent food price report said that the price will go up another $1,000 next year for a family of 4. Today, families told me that they have to choose between milk and fruit. Some are skipping meals so that they could make it to the end of the week. In a country like Canada, that makes no sense. Will the Liberals get rid of their inflationary spending and their hidden food taxes so that Canadians can finally afford to eat? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Prime Minister. These are crocodile tears coming from the Conservatives. They say that Canadians are having trouble making ends meet, yet they are voting against Canadians' interests. We index the Canada Child Benefit to inflation. The Conservatives don't like that, and they voted against it. We put in place a dental care program for our young people and for seniors who are struggling. Conservatives voted against that. They're against that program. Why? Because it helps Canadians. Let's be honest. Conservatives do not have the interests of Canadians at heart.
Member for Halifax.
Mr. Speaker, during the campaign, I knocked on thousands of doors all over Halifax. I constantly heard the same concerns about access to health care. My constituents know that the federal government can and must be part of the solution to the problems in our healthcare system. Could the Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship inform this House about how our government is contributing to this essential mission? Thank you. The Honourable Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I would like to thank my colleague for that question. On Monday, as part of our international talent recruitment strategy, I announced new measures to 1. Rapidly bring over doctors, specialists, and surgeons who are ready to practice in Canada, and 2. Retain foreign doctors who are already taking care of patients in our communities. Thanks to this plan, our government will build a more robust healthcare system, one that can benefit all Canadians. Thank you.
For Dufferin-Caledon.
For months, Conservatives fought to get the Stellantis contracts released despite the gag order from the Liberals, and now we know why they wanted to hide it. The so-called jobs guarantee that the minister was bragging about in question period only a few weeks ago was for 4,400 full-time employees at Stellantis. Sounds okay, right? Except Stellantis had 8,000 employees at the time the contract was signed. That would allow them to lay off 3,500 workers and still get the money. Is that why they fired 3,000 auto workers in Brampton, took the cash, and sent the jobs to Donald Trump?
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
We are with our workers in the auto sector that are victims of the unjustified and unjustifiable American tariffs, and will continue to fight for their jobs. When it comes to Stellantis, we had a deal, they broke it, we'll go after the money.
Member for Dufferin-Caledon.
You want to know what's unjustifiable? What's unjustifiable is giving a multinational company $15 billion and getting a job guarantee in the contract that allows the company to fire almost 50% of its workers. Let that sink in. They gave them $15 billion. They were allowed to fire 3,500 workers in Canada and still be in compliance with the contract. My question is this. This is gross negligence. It is incompetence beyond incompetence. How the hell has someone not been fired?
Again, we have pretty much unlimited freedom of expression in this House, but there are some words that provoke a reaction, even if they're not technically unparliamentary on the list.
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
What's gross negligence? It's when these conservatives under Harper decided to do a deal to bail out GM and Chrysler and shook hands with these two giants. And you know what happened? 2 Ford plants closed, GM plant closed, and an Orient bus closed. We have no lessons to take from them. We were the first government to bring jobs back to the auto sector, 3,000 right now.
That's it.
In Windsor at the Next Star facility, and we'll make sure that we get our money back from Stellantis.
Honourable Member for Carlton Trail Eagle Creek.
When the Liberal government was asked about its billion-dollar subsidy deal with Stellantis, the minister said to read the contracts and we would see job guarantees. Well, after her officials lied and were forced to release the documents, we see exactly what the Liberals got in return for Canadians' money. And I quote, "No penalties against the recipient should their aspirational target not be met." Why did the minister hand out hundreds of millions of dollars without any guarantee from Stellantis that jobs would be created?
The Honourable the Honourable Secretary of State for Rural Development.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The minister has answered that question twice already, but I'm not a mathematician, nor am I an economist. But when you talk about investments, I calculate that the Saskatchewan Conservative MPs that we have sent there, the 14 Saskatchewan Conservative MPs that we have sent to Ottawa over the last 10 years, cost us $30,800,000, Mr. Speaker. No return on investment. People of Saskatchewan deserve better. But anyway, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
The Honourable Member for Compton Stansted. Mr. Speaker, earlier this week the Prime Minister announced that Canada will apply to host the Summit of La Francophonie in 2028. This is excellent news. That is a major event bringing together French-speaking countries from all over the world and which leads to important economic and cultural benefits. I would like could the Minister of Foreign Affairs tell us a little bit more about this application and what we are doing to strengthen our ties with other French-speaking countries? The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs. Mr. Speaker, the French language and Francophone culture are extremely important. They are at the heart of our Canadian identity. That is why this week we announced that we will be applying to host the Summit of La Francophonie in 2028 here in the National Capital Region. This will let us forge new economic partnerships for Canadians. Mr. Speaker, this is good news for the economy, for the Francophone world.
For Pinoka Didsbury.
Speaker, I've just returned from Prince Edward Island, where all 10 Charlottetown City Councillors were present and voted unanimously to reject this Liberal government's gun grab. The 10 city councillors in Charlottetown clearly know better than the 4 Liberal MPs from that island. They know that lawful gun owners are not the problem. They know that their police resources are already stretched thin. They know the real problem is violent crime and with illegal guns from the United States. Charlottetown doesn't want anything to do with this Liberal government's policy. Even the minister himself has admitted it's a failure. When will the Liberals abandon this ineffective, useless $750 million boondoggle?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, let me be very clear. Mr. Speaker, we will be moving forward with the national program to ensure that those gun owners who are lawful gun owners are able to get compensation for those prohibited weapons. 2,500 weapons we prohibited under the Firearms Act. We will be compensating them, Mr. Speaker. But my question to the opposition is, why do they continuously go against law enforcement? For example, on lawful access, why do they continuously vote against and stall legislation that's going to help the people of Canada, Mr. Speaker?
The Honourable Member for Rosemont-La Petite Patrie. Soon, families will be getting together for Christmas dinner. And what will be the discussion around the table? Disappointment in this Liberal government. Not only have they done nothing to bring down grocery or housing costs, but everyone knows that they have given up the fight against climate change. To quote the former Environment Minister, it will now be impossible for Canada to meet its climate targets. This government is driving us off a cliff. They have let down future generations. Our young people will inherit an unpredictable climate and a burning planet. Will the Liberals apologize to our children? The Honourable Minister for the Environment and Climate Change, Mr. Speaker, I have said it once, I will say it again. Our government is committed to continue the fight against climate change. What is more, if you look at what we're hearing from the Conservatives, you will understand what it means to have one party in the House that does not understand what it means to fight against climate change. We are doing our jobs. We will continue to put in the work, and I hope that my colleague will support our climate plan.
The Honourable Member for Caribou Prince George has a point of order.
There have been discussions among the different parties. Mr. Speaker, I believe if you seek it, you will find unanimous consent.
Well, there's none. The Honourable Member for St. Thomas, Elgin, London South, is it?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As members of the House are aware, we open our days with prayer each day, and I'm hoping you can rule on whether members will be protected by parliamentary privilege from prosecution should C9 pass.
Hear, hear.
I can't even hear what the member said, to be honest. So maybe, if the member could repeat what he said, I couldn't hear it, unfortunately. So to avoid having the member repeat it a third time, maybe we could have a little more silence across the room. The Honourable Member for St. Thomas, Elgin, London South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As members are aware, we open our days in prayer each day, which is a testament to the spiritual roots of this country. I'm just wondering if you can rule on whether our parliamentary privilege will protect us from prosecution if Bill C9 becomes law.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
On the same point of order, Mr. Speaker, it is absolutely absurd and outrageous to suggest that this Parliament would act to constrain the rights and the privileges of Canadians to prayer, to choose their faith, and to practice their religion in any way possible, Mr. Speaker.
I don't see it being a problem. I don't see it being a problem. Any more points of order before we continue? The Honourable Government House Leader.
Late in question period, the member from Saskatchewan suggested that public servants had misled or lied to a committee. I think that is something that you should review, Mr. Speaker.
A point of order. I don't see that as a point of order, but are there any more points of order? No? Okay. We'll go to daily routine of business. Affaires courantes ordinaires, dépôt de documents.
Tabling of documents.
Yeah, okay. That's what I have to read. avant de